Welcome to The Deal, a podcast dedicated to maximizing name, image, and likeness opportunities. You'll hear from student athletes, coaches, and athletic administrators on how NIL partnerships can impact individuals and the schools they attend. It all comes down to making the best deal.
Welcome back to The Deal, the NIL podcast where student athletes, administrators, and coaches can learn about NIL deals, the benefits, and how to get started. My name is Paige Salveter. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Athletics Communications here at the NAIA National Office located in downtown Kansas City. This podcast is brought to you by our partner, Opendorse, the world's leading athlete influencer platform. And today we have one of our student athletes, Azalea Prince, and her assistant AD and also mental health coach, Scott Sorgi. He is joining us, and she is joining us for one of our campuses, Jessup University in California. Should I say sunny California? It's always sunny in California, right?
Yes.
And also, I'm super excited because she is in a leadership position within the NAIA, and she represents the Golden State Conference. So I would like to just welcome it up to Azalea and Scott to an episode of The Deal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paige. It's nice to meet you. Excited to be here.
Would love to just have you both start about your journey and how you all met. I think what I hear, you guys had a relationship starting back all the way back in high school.
Yeah, so Scott was actually my athletic director in high school at a local high school here in Sacramento. I started going there my freshman year of high school. I was only 13 and I had to apply before then to get in. So he's known me since I was about 12 and just been my athletic director and then ended up working at my university as well.
Yes. One of the benefits is working with Azalea and a few other former students. And, I had a front row seat for Azalea's pursuit of excellence in track and field and cross country. And, I remember her as a young high school athlete, just really working super hard, not only in the classroom, but out there in track and field and cross country, like I said. And then just to be working at the same university as Azalea is amazing. It's just amazing. It's just one of the many benefits of being here at Jessup.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Scott's been an awesome just help for me, an awesome person in my life. He's written many letters of rec for me. And I've been there for many phone calls, getting different jobs, counselor positions, he's the one who actually elected me and got me a part of SAC and ASA, which opened up a lot of doors and I really absolutely fell in love with.
Awesome. Well,
yeah, and Azalea does an amazing job leading our student athlete advisory committee as the president. So
thank you.
Yeah, yes. She was telling us a whole list the other day of all the things that she's involved in. Like, how does she have time to actually do her track and actually your schoolwork?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, Azalea, I want to just kind of start with you a little bit. Just knowing that you're on the ASA and you represent the Golden State Conference, what does leadership look like for you? And what does it look like for you as a person representing a whole conference and being a part of a bigger conglomerate with the NAIA Association?
Yeah, for me with SAC, ASA, and like the conference SAC and everything, I really want to just help serve as that voice as a NAIA student athlete and making sure that all student athletes feel like advocated and heard for. One of our biggest focuses this year is really on like student athlete mental health and just being there for students as much as we can. I'm actually doing like an Instagram takeover today to show people like what it's like to be as a day in the life as a student athlete and show potential future GSAC conference members what it's like to be a student athlete in the conference. But overall leadership to me, I want to be there for people and just help them achieve their goals of what they want to do and help lead them to that.
So Scott, how do you play a role in what she's trying to achieve also on the SAC and the ASA and mental health?
So I arrived at Jessup in February of 2021. We were still coming out of COVID, and I'm not kidding. Right when I got here, they were like, "Hey, buckle your chin strap. Here we go. We're going to do 16 seasons of sport in one semester." Right? Because that fall, there
I
were no
remember that.
sports, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I literally, you know, out of the frying pan into the fire, right? So, okay, here's the keys, here's where the baseball field is, the gym's over here, and what we did a lot of that first semester was just game supervision, right? And just making sure that there was administrative representation at all the contests. And my job description that I read the first day went a little bit by the wayside, right? I was trying to do a little bit of it just to start that process, but for that first semester, it was literally 24/7, game supervision and just making sure that the student athletes were able to get in their athletic contests, right? In that semester. One of the things that is really great is, and I'll just tell you, I experienced some pretty great trauma, as a child, just in a couple of different areas, and so when that happens to someone, there's a couple of paths you can take. One of the paths the path that I chose to take was to become what I just learned as a term, a wounded healer, right? So that's in my DNA. And when I walk into a room, of student athletes, I don't see 50 of them. I see the two I need to go talk to and make sure they're okay. That's kind of how I explain it. But as my role continued to grow and expand, and some dust started to settle, they found that coming out of COVID, that there were a lot of student athletes who were suffering with their mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I think kind of the collision of COVID and the way our society has made it now okay to talk about your feelings. Okay, I'm 59 years old, and when I was growing up, you didn't talk about your feelings. And even, with the trauma that I suffered as a child, I just was asked to sweep that under the carpet. So now these student athletes, they don't do that. They don't do that. A lot of them will now come and have conversations, which I'm happy to have. That's what makes my day. So I became involved with that, and it's been a ministry for me, and it's been needed for sure.
Well, it sounds like they're extremely lucky to have you for sure. This is going to be a little bit different direction on our podcast that we've had, and we're here about educating on all the different angles that name, image, and likeness brings to our student athletes and our universities. And Azalea and Scott are obviously very passionate about the mental health perspective. I mean, you just heard what Scott had to say and tell his personal story. But Azalea as well has some personal stories. And I'd like for her to just kind of go through and tell us a little bit about how she thinks and how you think, Azalea, name, image, and likeness really has a component to mental health. And what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I entered college in fall of 2020. So NIL deals shortly after that became a thing and were allowed in the NAIA, and the NAIA really started endorsing it through Open Doors and many other platforms, or just in general, like Open Doors, but then like many other apps that opened up a lot of avenues for getting NIL deals. And I personally do not have an NIL deal, but I think there's other avenues that student athletes can go with. There's different brands you can email and message and reach out to and utilize those resources while you are a student athlete. For example, Lululemon, Hydro Flask. I also work with Element. It's like a electrolyte, and there's just a lot of brands you can reach out to. So I want to encourage student athletes to reach out to your favorite brands. Just shoot them an email, tell them you're a student athlete. A lot of brands love working with our student athletes. But I think it also, just the whole NIL deal really opened up a big avenue for student athlete mental health, because prior to COVID, you couldn't use your name, couldn't use your image, couldn't use your likeness for your own benefit. You couldn't email brands and be like, oh, hey, I'm a student athlete. Like, can I get this? Like, it didn't really matter. So I think it kind of gave a voice to people and made you feel a lot more important. And as we were talking about earlier, the NIA in general, like, really promotes that student athlete side of things. I think you are a student first, which I absolutely love. So I think it was really awesome to be able to use my own name, use my own image, use my own likeness to be able to reach out to brands and promote myself. And again, that tying in just to the bigger concept and bigger conversation of mental health, I think is absolutely amazing. As Scott said, he's a super big advocate for mental health, and so am I. I think it's so important that we're taking care of our mental health. It's really hard to be a person, and it's really hard to be a student athlete. You got a lot on your plate, and it can be really, really overwhelming for people, especially when you're going from a high school setting to a college setting. It's a lot different. You have a lot more demands asked of you. And I just think it's really important that we're supporting our student athletes and being there for them as much as we can and giving them whatever resources we can to support their mental health and just support them in general.
If you talk about mental health and you talk about name, image, and likeness, do you have any specific examples of how it's actually changed or really helped any of your colleagues, any of your other fellow track members at Jessup? Any other personal stories of how others can hear your story and understand how this really can impact mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. So even for me personally, I found that just mental health is super important, especially in the last few years through COVID. Being inside a lot was really hard, and not being able to see people, and just overall COVID took a definite toll over my mental health. And through a lot of different resources here at Jessup, I was able to kind of help and get out of there. We have this super awesome resource that we use. It's called Timely Care. And like, you're able to talk to a therapist 24/7. You just put in your name and number and they call you within 5 minutes. So little things like that have helped me a lot. And then just through being able to reach out to brands and then being like, yeah, like, you do matter. You are a student athlete. We do see that. Here's what we'll give you for doing that. It's like, oh, I am important. Oh, people do care. People do see what I'm doing. So I think that's kind of how it helped my mental health. It made me just feel like, oh, okay, there are things I can do. Oh, I am an important person, and things like that. It was very reassuring.
And if I could chime in on that too, if you don't mind, I wrote down 5 stressors for student athletes and in general, and number 5 is the cost of education. Right, a lot of people, a lot of our student athletes, and rightfully so, they stress out, right, and they have anxiety about how they're going to pay for school. And I had a talk with someone last week where they said, my parents pay for a year, and then I have to raise money to pay for the next year, and then they'll pay, then I pay. And, everybody's, personal situation is very different financially. And you do have those students who, that have to kind of scrape and claw, right, to pay for the tuition and room and board and all of the costs associated with being here at the university. But I think, if NIL can help get them closer to that number, that's going to relieve a lot of stress. And even like Azalea said, even if it's just merchandise, right, and getting discounts, and wow, this was something that I was going to buy for $100, and I'm able to purchase it for 50, right? And that's $50 in your pocket. And so that helps, I believe, relieve a lot of the stress as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that's a great point, Scott. As far as like those discounts, it does go a long way. Like, we all know those big name brands, Lululemon, super expensive. So being able to running shorts and leggings for the winter and a nice super warm jacket to run in and to warm up in is helpful. Hydro Flask, another brand, getting a 50%, 40% discount is huge. I'm on track and cross country, and I know all other sports water, but it is preached at us every single day. It's, oh, go, where's your hydro? Go fill it up. Go drink a ton of water. How much water have you drank today? So having things like that and being able to use those discounts just to have a little bit of money in my pocket. Oh, cool. Now I can go, it can be as simple as like, okay, cool, I have $50 more to go grocery shopping this time. And I think just those have helped students a lot. And if, like Scott said, if there's more NIL deals out there that students can get that can help with that cost of education, whether it's tuition or gear or whatever it might be, I want to really encourage student athletes to just take charge of that and really, really, really utilize that while they can.
I do want to ask you, Azalea, do you have a profile on Open Doors? Are you familiar with Open Doors?
I do have a profile on Open Doors.
You know, one of the things that Open Doors, as you all know, so the listeners, is that they're our national partner for name, image, and likeness. And they really do help take the burden off of our athletics administrators. They help you with all the compliance issues. They help our student athletes set up their profiles and making sure that they're appropriate and they're getting the types of deals that they want to be represented. Azalea, my understanding is that you currently don't have a deal through Open Doors, but have you started searching maybe even for any other brands that maybe even look at some of your values and your passion through mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. I've gone through and looked at the different brands that are on there, and I think it's super awesome. I'm unfortunately a senior, so kind of running out of time, sadly.
Oh, still plenty of time. You're just starting your senior year.
I know. But Open Doors does have a lot of resources, which I think has been super awesome just to go through and see how many different companies and different places that they partner with and can get deals through, like mental health resources, as well as brands, which I think is super awesome.
Scott, you know, in your role, and I know that you guys haven't partnered with Open Doors yet, but is there something that we could or you would be interested in learning more about or telling our listeners about how to get started with Open Doors or any, because you have such a unique story here today about talking about mental health. And I think that there could be a wonderful story that kind of helps. How can we tell Open Doors that we need more help in this mental health perspective and in your role, and how we can help set up Jessup and other universities?
Yeah, you caught me thinking about that while Azalea was talking. I was listening to her, but I was also the wheels were turning as they often do, and I'm thinking, you know, because just to be honest and transparent, you know, this is the first time that I've heard about Open Doors, and I'm really interested now to see and really from the angle too, because I've always thought of it as, hey, you know, we're going to give you XYZ dollars, right? You know, and you're going to represent our business and our company. And I didn't really kind of whittle it down, right, to maybe a simpler version of that, like Azalea experiences with, you know, just even like I said earlier, getting product for a discount, right? So yeah, I'm going to definitely be looking into that for our school for sure.
Okay. Well, I would love to make sure that we continue the conversation and talking with you and your position, because I think it's invaluable. We just actually did a study with our student athletes, and mental health keeps coming to the top. And so I think this is a conversation that we need to keep putting into the mix. So I really appreciate how you two have come on and told your story and your partnership, and of course, everything that happened during COVID, which it's still too fresh in all of our minds, right? And so if it's one of the number one stressors of the cost of education, and name, image, and likeness can really help our student athletes, we want to tell more about this. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our listeners today about just your passion, any other things that we can provide on an educational perspective for name, image, and likeness, or you know, or if there's anything else, we can definitely follow up with you all soon in the next couple of months to see how you guys have taken this conversation to the next step.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to let the listeners know, like, it's super important you're taking care of your own mental health. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. You are your number one priority. And if NIL deals can help you with that, then absolutely explore that avenue sooner than later. Like I said, I'm a senior, and again, hindsight's always 20/20. I wish I would have taken advantage of things while I still could.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're taking care of yourself and really enjoying it. The time goes by so fast. So really just appreciate your teammates, appreciate your institution, and just have a really good time.
Yeah. And I would add to that, you know, self-care, as Azalea mentioned, it's the most important thing. You've got to take care of yourself. And a couple of other things I think sometimes we don't think about is set reasonable expectations for yourself, right? Don't, you know, shoot for the moon, but if you I don't know what the saying is, but if you land near the stars, whatever it is, then that's okay. You did well, right? You did well. And give yourself credit, right? Give yourself credit for things that you accomplish. And, don't be the person that, oh, I got a D on this test. And wow, I'm so, but be the type of person that looks at things reasonably and goes, man, I did the best that I possibly could, on that. I studied my tail off, and, I can be proud.
I love that. Well, that's all good advice. We will continue the conversation, not only in name, image, and likeness about mental health, but this will definitely be a topic of discussion and more resources. And we're currently looking at a new national partner to help us in this area. So appreciate your all's perspective on name, image, and likeness and mental health. And everyone, tune in to another episode of The Deal.